he eats the caviar and he walks out very concerned, stops the guy in the hall, and he says, "What is this?" So you don't know we don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he thinks he's good. I don't know if he thinks it's bad. I don't know if he knows it's food.
Welcome to Cinema So Far, the podcast where good friends talk about great cinema. I'm your host, James, and today we are joined by Alex.
Hello.
And we have Sydney.
What up, players?
We have Paul.
Yep.
And Travis.
Hey, fiends.
Yes, and today we are talking about Fallout Season 1, Episode 6, titled The Trap. And the synopsis for the episode today is Lucy and Maximus learn about Vault 4's refugee policy and uncover unsettling secrets. Meanwhile, the Ghoul has flashbacks to his former life where he learned of his wife's role in a Vault-Tec conspiracy. This episode was directed by Frederick E.O. Toy, and the writers on the episode were Carrie Dornetto and Chaz Hawkins again. So, episode is titled The Trap. Anyone have any idea why it might have been titled that? Any guesses?
Maybe when he got sucked into the floor and they trapped him in the vault? Possibly?
Yeah, I think that might be it. Yeah. That's definitely one of them. Got any others?
I think also it could be referential to the fact that Cooper is getting sucked into some stuff that he doesn't really know about.
That's very true. And I think maybe another one to add was the Ghoul. You know, Cooper in the future is basically arrested by the government and dragged dragged in there. That could be kind of seen as a trap.
Government spelled M-I-N-T.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought, I would think that it was based on the trap of maybe the vaults being to the surface dweller, something that could trap you because, as we'll get into it, the comfort level is quite better.
Yes, the trap of comfort, right?
Yes.
Man, great point. Okay, so what did you guys think of this episode? This one was kind of a standout for me. I thought it was one of the funniest episodes, maybe one of my favorites so far, actually. But what were your thoughts?
It's definitely been my favorite so far. I mean, things got weird. I was shook, you guys.
Shooketh.
Jaw on the floor. I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome.
I'm in.
The first time I watched it, I hated it. I was just like, there's just so many more questions now. They're not answering anything. Let's get to some of the answers now. So, but watching it a second time, it is a long episode and there's a lot going on, but there's really not a lot going on. So, the whole showing us how comfortable it was, they were really driving home some of those points.
Yeah. And something that you just made me think of is something I love about new television or this new age of television is it's not set to a time limit. Like if an episode is 40 minutes, it's 40 minutes. If it's an hour and 10, it's an hour and 10. It all just depends on what the story is that they're telling, and it really works a lot in this format. But what about you guys? What did you think about the episode?
I mean, I gotta agree with Sydney. I mean, I think that I was already into the episode or the season, and then this one was just kind of like where it really kind of drew in, like that extra layer of intrigue as far as kind of. So we've got some names that have been dropped, and we're like, who the hell are they? Who the hell was this chick at the beginning of the first episode that we don't see until now? And then we kind of get some clues on who she might be. And then just kind of, I think a lot of it goes back also to what is it Wilzig was kind of talking about when he was talking to Lucy about the vaults and kind of what they represent and things like that. So,
like you said, Paul, it did leave a lot more questions, but I did think that it answered a few. It did answer, where do gulpers come from? How is this vault that they're in, Vault 4, how is that different than the vault that Lucy grew up in? We even get like the whole Moldaver reveal of like, where she actually comes from, because Cooper saw her in his time, and then now they're like worshiping her in this cult, cult way. But I just thought like it was a good balance of like they answered some questions that we had, but then, like you said, they put out a few more, that are gonna, I think, be answered by the end of the season. So,
So I don't know if this came from previous knowledge, or maybe I'm not that smart, which is true also. But so the gulper was the creature in the fish tank.
yes, yeah,
But so you're saying that, so I took it more as like they captured one and put it in there. I wasn't thinking that they were creating them there.
I think that's what was revealed is like these were through the experiments, because if I'm recalling correctly, when Lucy is there watching the video, the security footage of a lady strapped down and these things come out of her and then eat her, I think that's what was eating her, right? They were
right. She was
small
giving
baby
birth
gulpers.
She was giving birth to the gulpers, and that actually answers the question that we were talking about a few episodes ago, why that has human fingers inside of it, because they were using human animal like cross experiments.
And by the way,
that's why you should watch this podcast, because idiots like me, are still trying to piece together a lot of these parts. So,
well, on the other side, Travis totally guessed it. Travis gets all the points here because in like those earlier episodes, he was thinking it was like some sort of experiment that they came from, and he totally called it. So
Yeah.
bravo.
And here I'm just thinking it's from nuclear, nuclear bombs and radiation that's creating these creatures.
Turns
That's also
out
valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
Is that why everyone is a cyclops and has a nose on their head and extra fingers and stuff?
Well,
I was dying at that comedian when he showed up with the one eye. Oh my god, that was so funny.
That's Chris Parnell, aka
so funny.
Well, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was Cyril Figgis and Archer, and
Jerry from Rick and Morty.
Jerry, I was gonna say Jerry from Rick and Morty, and in a lot of different stuff. But
yeah, hilarious. All right, well, let's get into the episode then. So the episode opens with Cooper in a black and white Vault-Tec advertisement, and once the shoot is over, some Vault-Tec executives try to schmooze him, but he finds out that there's a rap party at his house. And I'll just leave it there because that kind of covers a lot. But
that pissed me off.
What did?
Like seriously,
he was looking damn good, I might add.
Yeah,
My
that suit
goodness.
was tailored.
Yeah. So off the top, there are a couple of things I wanted to point out. So I just like the whole black and white thing, and that commercial, like the dialogue, the scripting for that specific commercial was so 1950s.
Yes.
I thought they did a really good job of that. And I thought, like, especially because, Cooper's like this, movie star type that, like, every time he asked him a question, he went and, like, smiled in the camera. It was very much. And then also Bud Askins, that dickhead, I can't stand him. We kind of mentions the T-45, and now we kind of realize why, earlier on, when the Ghoul saw Maximus for the first time, he knew so much about the armor.
Yeah. Another question answered.
More. Yeah, so he talks about like, well, in Alaska when I was fighting the Reds, a lot of my men died because you're stupid, And it's funny because Bud was like, "Oh yeah, it's great, isn't it?" And then all of a sudden he says that. He's like, "Oh, well, that wasn't my thing."
Yeah, he totally just,
so
as Cooper's talking about how his friends died because of the suit not being, thought through. Bud Askins, the exec, he's just like, oh yeah, whatever. You just kind of brush that off, and of course,
you can't imagine all the problems we had with that thing.
Yeah. But he didn't really care. Sorry, Alex, were you going to go on with some other stuff there?
Well, no, I was just going to say the initial thing I said at the top when you mentioned it pissed me off that Barb was straight up just like, oh, there's a rat party. He's like, oh, crap. Well, we'll just go there for like an hour. And it's like, oh, it's at our house. Like he doesn't know at all.
Right.
And I also thought was kind of funny because it's kind of counterintuitive to what the stereotypical relationship dynamic in the 1950s was, where it's like the man making all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that was it.
And to get back to that time, I mean, I don't know if anyone else grew up watching the Twilight Zone, but it was very reminiscent of that. Just the way they talk to the camera, and even a lot of the ads and stuff back then. It had this quality to it where it just all kind of sounded, just heavily narrated and kind of condescending a little bit. But
yeah, but I mean, you're talking about the beginning of TV,
exactly,
thereabouts. So they're figuring out marketing and advertising, and how to do it. So they didn't have AI doing it for them.
Exactly.
What's also really funny too is about that as well is like they were spot on with the slick suits and the cigarettes, because you always saw that back then, like people just smoking cigarettes like on everything, like
no matter what,
commercials, talk shows, TV shows.
When he was supposed to be coming down the stairs with the cigarette in his pimp robe with a big poster behind him. Woo!
Yeah, G-code.
Too funny. I mean, because think about it. He's advertising a vault, like, and smoking a cigarette. He's supposed to be in a vault. Like, are you supposed to be doing that? Like, but it doesn't matter because they just smoked everywhere.
Yeah.
And talking about the commercial side of it, like you're trying to market and sell a product for the end of the world. Like, so it's, you can't just be like all the fear side of it. You can't sell the fear side. You have to sell the like luxury side, the like, but that's only targeted to, this is where we're getting into my area, is this like, it's only targeted to the elites. So.
Oh, wait, your area? Like you're an elite? Okay.
I'm conspiracy all the way, maybe Paul's on that with me, but like this capitalism pushing, think about it. And he talks about it as we get into the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought a profound line was the end of the world is a product. That really hit hard for me. And I clocked that one. I noted that.
Yeah, for sure.
I got something to say about that when we get there for sure. I wrote a lot of commentary on that whole scene.
All right. Well, let's get there. So, by the way, the phone number that he says, you can call that phone number, and I've called it a couple of times. I believe that they change the message every time, but there's like a voicemail that'll play. So the phone number, if you're listening, is 213-258-2858, which it's basically 213-25 is what he says. So if you get some spare time, call that number, see what it says. But
I'll call it right now.
But we're at the rap party at Cooper's house, as we mentioned, and we see Cooper walk past all these bigwigs, these Hollywood bigwigs and Vault-Tec execs, and he goes over to chat with his old friend by the pool, Matt Berry. Hey. And they discuss how the town and people in it are changing and how it's impacting their careers. So that scene, I thought, was really telling. Number one, we see that Bud Askins guy again, but Cooper's not really into that whole scene, all those people. He's just there showing up and just kind of, making his rounds, and everyone you can see is really happy to see him and, kind of starstruck, but he just walks through and goes to talk to his one friend. He says, you're the only one that actually came, that, of the people I invited.
And what I really like about Cooper is like, you could tell that he's above the bullshit. Like he could just smell it. Right. And it's like, as an actor, I think that's something that's like ironic, right? Because he's just, when you see him walk out, he reads the newspaper and it says, I can't remember the quote, but it was some sort of revolutionizing safety for an I don't know, for the future or whatever, right? And he's like looking at it, just kind of scoffing at it, like the propaganda. And he what the comment he had with his, he's talking to Roosevelt, you could tell that he just would rather just hang out with his dog than go out there. And then director's points, I thought it was cool. He's talking to the dog, walks out immediately. There's a picture of him and the dog. They're like, oh, I love that movie too. Yeah, that's my actual dog in the movie. But yeah, it just seems like like a genuine, like, to me, like, kind of grounded dude, and how he just kind of walks through and is like uninterested in everything that they're going, like hearing them talk about politics. Bud comes up, he's like get me out of here.
Especially uninterested in what he has to say. Yeah. And then, we go over to the pool, and he's talking to Matt Berry, and that's another reveal, as you kind of see where the robot Snip Snip, got his voice, why he sounds like that, and what they were for. Like, apparently,
and how much he got paid for.
Yeah, and how much he got paid. And apparently they were made, for housewives and perverts. Which I don't know what kind of
ask for more.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of sex robot that would be, but hey, to each his own.
Maybe holograms.
Come at you with that saw blade.
Yeah,
you might ask me some really spooky shit.
Really?
Yeah, I like that he called like Sebastian Seabass, because it reminds me of Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
kick his ass, Seabass. And it never occurred to me that Seabass would be like a shortening for Sebastian.
So I never thought of that either. That's really funny.
Yeah,
I thought he was just a fisherman or something.
I thought it was really funny too that he's just macking on the two waitresses too.
Yeah,
he's like, you want to get in the hot tub?
Yeah, they're like, no, thank you.
I would get in a hot tub with that guy for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I'd get in a hot tub with Matt Berry.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sure. As Laszlo, you got to. Jackie Daytona from Phoenix, Arizona, or Tucson, Arizona.
So, just really quick, the voice of Snip Snip is what the Ghoul wakes up to, and we find out that he's arrested for the crime of destroying the Super Duper Mart. And I'll just go straight into the next scene, which is back to a hot tub, where Barb and Cooper end up talking politics and the vaults. There was a lot that went down in this scene, and you kind of, I think, are starting to see like a little bit of a difference in the way Cooper views the vaults and Vault-Tec, and the way his wife Barb does.
And I think that kind of, because there was some things I was going to mention in the last scene, but they kind of coincide. Just this whole episode, to me, a lot of the commentary, for instance, like Sydney was talking about, talks about how the end of the world is a product, and everything is a product. And that kind of reminds me of today, like, with Netflix and Disney, and we have the Warner Brothers Netflix thing going on right now, where we have these corporate monopolies that are basically buying everything out. And how he talked about how Robco bought the studio, right, in that last scene. And just kind of like, it's kind of creepy, because it's kind of echoing what we see today, not just with like entertainment, but also just like corporations like Vanguard and BlackRock just owning everything. And
there's a lot of like, I was gonna say, there's a lot of social commentary in this episode, like a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's kind of goes on to what Barb was kind of talking about as well. And she had mentioned something like, oh, one of the good vaults, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he started to realize this too. But another thing I was going to note with Barb is she picks up that Pip-Boy and puts it on. And that was kind of claustrophobic to me. It was kind of like, terrible for him, because now the corporate world is invading his house. It's like not bad enough that they had a party and had all these people in here, but now she's bringing like stuff from work,
Well, and I think he's starting to wake up a little bit to, wait a minute, like how deep is my wife involved in all of this? And he's starting to ask those questions, I think, which is, it goes in a different place, obviously.
Right. And well, what I was going to tie into that, and when I was saying this is my area, is not, because people like to label it as, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, I like to look at the potential of what might be happening out there in the world, like if we're bringing it back to our real life, and the aspect of giving up all control, giving up all our information, just falling in line into this new system. And, that fact where he was like, oh, okay, well, now what if I didn't want to wear a blue jumpsuit? What if I want to wear a green one? Like it's, where's my freedom of choice here? When I fought for all this against the Reds and just like, oh, well, if you start to do this, you're falling in line with probably the capitalist kind of like, and the Red Scare type of thing.
But it's funny that you
go ahead, Alex.
Sorry, it's funny that you mentioned that because I literally wrote down the same thing as what I got from that is like he because when he talks to White Knife and he talks about like he's talking about how the corporations are buying everything, and then he talks to his wife and she says and that another thing that was about the dog, right? Like the you can't have dogs in the vault, so that kind of talks about a few episodes ago when we were talking about that. But yeah, just that concept of like not really having freedom there, right? And he's fighting communism for the American dream, that he's supposed to have this, we can do what we want, we could wear what we want, we could walk down whatever street we want. And then when you think about the vault is kind of a commune. It's kind of like, it is kind of communism. And he is kind of like, oh, so we're trading everything and selling it to corporations just to live in what we're fighting.
Yeah.
Right. And fighting for this thing that you might not like. I relate with I couldn't even, the Ghoul, whatever, Cooper, his name. I couldn't think of his name, but I relate more with him myself because just not liking that idea of what you just mentioned, Alex, is just corporations owning everything. It's kind of scary. We're in that. I'm telling you, we're in that now.
We're already there.
We're already 100%. Going down this path.
Far into it.
And who decides? Who decided? Yes. And now we all have to just follow blindly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to Barb's point, she says it's going to exist regardless, So she's like, well, it's going to happen anyway. So whether I play a part in it or not, I'm trying to get the upper hand,
Yeah, and you don't even have to be a conspiracy theorist. What was that, Paul?
I'm going to take what's mine, You got to fight for it, that there was some of that in this whole thing with Cooper, of you have to take what you want. When he goes through those sheriffs and all that, you see it then.
Yeah. And I think you see it with Barb, his wife also, right? Like whenever she's, because the hard part here is sometimes she's making good points. If you want to think about the safety of your family, right, then you might want to be in the best situation possible. You might want to be in one of those good vaults.
So this was a question that I really thought a lot about during the episode. Of millions or billions of people are going to die, and she wants so bad to be one of the ones that is saved. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to be one of the ones that just goes and not has to go through Philly and all this other stuff.
Paul's death wish again.
I'm right there with you, Paul.
I mean,
take me out.
Like, I don't want to be a prepper. I want to be the first to go, not the last to go. I'm sorry.
But I think
the challenge is you don't know maybe where it's going to happen. And you need to be prepared to survive. I'm in that same boat. I was trying to debate that earlier in the car. Just like, well, I am a prepper, but I don't do I really want to, I'm not really actually doing everything I need to now.
I think this comes down to one of her good points that she makes. And that's why it's such good writing, because it's not so one-sided. But whenever Cooper says something about going away to Bakersfield.
Yeah, he wants to move
like,
out
look,
to the country.
When the shit hits the fan, that's not going to help. You're just being a couple hours away is not going to matter. And so it really is like an all or nothing situation, the way she sees it, which is this is inevitable. It's going to happen. So let's just do what we can to survive.
It kind of bothers me though. Is like she and
I'm
you
playing
can tell
devil's
when
advocate,
she's talking.
obviously, but
no, of course. I think that's valid too. There are some parts where it's like, depending on what situation or what side of that argument you're on, they're both making valid points. And that is something that this television show, and I think the game, does very well. And I think it's even more so in the game because it talks about communism and not necessarily capitalism, but unchecked capitalism, like corporatism, and how neither one's really good, right? And they all kind of give you the same result. You've got a master. It's either consumerism or it's, you know, the proletariat, right? And so, I kind of trailed off into a separate conversation than what I was going to say, but yeah.
Well, and so, but what you got to think about is what Matt Berry's character said is, you know, it's a, what is it? A fiduciary responsibility for these companies, right? Because in capitalism, it's about profit and they have to make more money, and it has to be inevitable that the nukes are going to fall or they're not going to, like, they have to make money for the shareholders. So you have to be in the vaults before they happen.
And they want a bad result or a bad negotiation during peace talks.
Right.
Because it's in their best interest.
And to today, it's just like the military industrial complex. Like, we need war so we can make money.
Or corporations, exactly right? Like, I mean, companies are like the fiduciary responsibility. Like Travis is saying, like, poison that river because we got a profit, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are like just really profound, it's social commentary that I think just they do so well on this show. And, I don't think you have to be a conspiracy theorist or anything to really like think about this stuff, even though, you know, Travis does think the earth is flat, but we'll set that aside for now.
No way. No way.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not delusional.
Flat and we're all lizard people.
Cooper says that
I was talking about this yesterday with my mom, that the world is so crooked lately that I just want to move to Japan or something. Get me out of America.
I feel like Japan
it's not necessarily great to. We might think it's better, but it's not currently.
The whole world is
same, the whole world.
Well,
we're in a very weird spot.
I think what Cooper said here says a lot. He says to his wife, "You're defending a system that's ready to set the world on fire."
Yep.
You know,
that's exactly what she's doing.
That is the way he looks at it. And she's looking at it like, I got to be involved with it because that's what's going to save my family.
Because I think she already knows what's not in the good vaults. She knows if you've seen the 100, I don't want to spoil it, but there are other things like where, or like in, what is it? Hunger Games. There's districts that only do, you only produce the wheat. That's all you do. You don't get to do anything else.
Yep.
You don't want to be in one of those.
Communism. That's communism too. If you look at the USSR, that's kind of like you're either a beet farmer or potato farmer, and if you're lucky, you work your way up to the top and you become part of like the bourgeoisie and within the proletariat system up at the top.
Well, another name for bourgeoisie is management
too.
Management, yeah, that's another thing too. She does mention management. She's like, yeah, the management vault, that's what I was going to say earlier. Is that's what pissed me off. I'm just like, you obviously know that there's something going on that even if we go into the vaults, it's not necessarily going to be better than living in, you know, a post-atomic world or a
Bud Askins
Fallout world. Bud Askins, but so did Barb.
Management,
you know. Well, Bud mentioned management at the beginning of it, and then Barb later on says that, you know, I want one of the management vaults. And then also, for clarity's sake, you said Sebastian said it, but it was actually White Knife who talked about the fiduciary.
And
stuff.
Speaking of White Knife, so yeah, Cooper goes to the bar to meet his friend White Knife, who's another actor, and he talks about how White Knife talks about how Vault-Tec is actually evil, and the thought never occurred to Cooper. You know, obviously because his wife works there, and how could someone that is not evil be a part of something evil? I'm sure is what he's rationalizing. But his friend gives him a card to find out more. And we'll see what happens with that in the next scene. But I just, another just, you know, poignant thought that I had from watching this is like, oh yeah, you know, like there are these companies, these corporations that we would consider evil, but they might not be full of evil people. Maybe it's people that are just trying to do their jobs and, you know, do what's best for their family. And that's what's so complicated. And, you know, it's such a gray area when you start talking about this stuff.
Well, it's just like the American military. I know a lot of vets and I know a lot of people in the military. They're good people. They're great people. But depending on what the government's agenda is and what they have to do, for instance, you know, the war in Iraq and weapons of mass destruction, all that stuff, like their kind of accessory with to that, just being people who want to serve their country and do a duty.
He said duty, but yeah,
duty.
Yeah, I mean, these are just great points. And not that we are going to solve these issues right here on this call, but what's just really cool is that the writing is so good that it makes me think about it and makes me want to talk about it.
It's just introducing it a different way. It's showing you in various ways things that, are really going on. Maybe not to the extent that they are, but it could get that way someday.
Which is another reason why I really appreciate this show, is that's what entertainment should do, as opposed to something that maybe Disney puts out that's like beating you over the head with it. It's like, here's some social messaging, where this is kind of like it's baked into the world. It makes sense in this world that this is what's happening. Yeah, I was gonna say one thing I liked about when he meets White Knife. He's like, "Man, you're an actor. We're living the dream." He's like, "The American dream has me getting shot in the ass by you all day."
Yeah,
because he's a Native American from the Cowboys.
Oh man,
yeah, movies back then.
Shout out to. I was gonna say shout out to Dallas Goldtooth, the actor who plays White Knife. He's also the spirit guide for Bear in Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, Reservoir Dogs.
He's funny. Sorry.
No,
Reservation Dogs.
Yeah. You had it
right. But he's hilarious in that show. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all should watch it.
That show's great. I love that show.
Gotta check it out.
Okay. So we go to Cooper and Barb. They're at home now. It's the next day. And Barb not only says that she has a new assistant, but that there's also an update to the vault policy. No dogs. And she reveals that she's been working really hard to get the family into the good vaults for management. This is where she really says that. And, yeah, this was another, it was a little bit more of a heated conversation this time. And I think this is just, tipping Cooper in that direction of like, wait a minute. Well, who is making the rules? Wait a minute. There's no dogs?
She says there's a policy. No dogs. Okay. Well, who made the policy?
Where'd that come
She
from?
starts explaining why it's a good policy. And he says, no. That's not what I'm talking about. Who made the policy?
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing, is every time there's like a good point that Cooper makes, she comes back with another point that is, pretty effective, but not what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, dogs eat meat, and that's that's an inefficiency.
Mm-hmm. And then we go back to Vault 4, where the overseer is explaining just how easy their toilets work. He's really proud of that. And we learn that they have an open vault policy, and surface dwellers, or surfies as they call them, are welcome inside. Once Lucy asks about level 12, the conversation is over for the Cyclops overseer, and he demands that Goosey leave.
Goosey McLean.
Or skedaddle.
The part cracked me up where he was reading that.
Yeah, this part was just gold.
Goosey.
Yeah, it's Lucy.
So a couple of things that I thought were funny were when you think they're removing the bullet from his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it's a tooth.
It's a tooth. And so they're like, "Oh, you guys use all kinds of weapons up there."
Yeah, and I was going to ask too, because I think we skipped past that scene that was kind of in between a couple of the other ones, but there was a whole scene where they're sitting there, which I thought to me was really like out of character, because Lucy's like, "You want to have sex?" He's like, "Sex? Is that where He's like, I don't know, because like that thing happens where your penis gets really hard,
he didn't
pops
say
like a pimple."
Yeah, he said your cock.
Yeah. He's like, you want to use my cock? Yeah.
That's later. That's later. Yeah.
But to me, it was just kind of like, no, he says it in that scene, and he says it later when he's in the,
it grows and it pops like a pimple.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, that's that's supposed to happen every time, ideally,
I found it weird that he didn't know what that was, since like in the first episode, that guy was jacking off right next to him. How could you not No.
Yeah, I think
Just an observation.
yeah, no, I think you're catching a good loophole there, but I guess it was just supposed to be because that they just don't do that in the Brotherhood, right? You're not supposed to be going with any girls and doing anything, but yeah, that was just a really funny scene. And then another question I think was answered when they pulled the tooth out of his shoulder. Isn't that what the Ghoul, like, didn't the Ghoul pull teeth out of some of the people that he killed?
Yes.
And so I was
I don't
thinking, okay, so
remember
maybe
that
that's
part.
like he's using that for
He's
ammo
using it
too.
for ammo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good. I didn't catch that, but yeah, that's probably exactly what that is.
Yeah, and I thought
But
it was
yeah,
funny that Lucy was bringing up having sex like it was playing tic-tac-toe or something.
Yeah,
that's
she's
what
like,
I was gonna
"Yo,
say
you wanna-"
too. And I was gonna say that might vindicate Paul, because I'm just sitting there thinking, like, first off, that seems kind of uncharacteristic of Lucy, and I'm like, she's only had sex once. And I was like, wait, maybe Paul's
No,
right.
not with
Maybe
the
she
cousin,
has
remember?
been banging her cousins.
Cousin stuff.
Well, and when he was talking about it popping like a pimple, she says,
it's
yeah,
supposed to happen like
yeah,
that, ideally.
it happens every time, ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So she knows what's up.
And then later on, they're sitting there eating, and then I thought it was funny because he says, like, "Oh, this is a cult," and I thought that was ironic, him being like in the Brotherhood.
So
Right.
yeah, and that was an interesting part because he couldn't wait to get out of there. He said, "I'm fine. I don't need to stay here." And she was saying, "No, no, no." You could tell she's in the vault. She's loving life. Look, I mean, just kind of eyes wide. Oh, this is so great. This is the vault, and we'll see what happens with that down the road.
But then immediately, like, she
Switch.
starts seeing freaks, Yeah. And then she starts second guessing. She's like, "Wait, these people are weird. Like, why has this dude got a nose on his head?"
But that was
It's just
interesting
funny how quickly.
because she wasn't fazed by the people smiling, but Maximus was, because where he's from, people just don't smile and are
Don't
happy
smile.
like that. But she was freaked out by the people with the oddity, deformities and stuff. But Maximus wasn't, because he's seen all of that stuff on the surface.
Yeah.
So it was just really cool, like what they were all used to and not used to. And then even as as Chris Parnell, as the Cyclops overseer comes over, she's freaked out, right? And it's just interesting that he even has his prejudices about people on the surface, even though
He's a fifth generation.
yes, fifth generation Vault-Tec. So where he came from was the surface indirectly, right? But
But then when we find out what the vault's doing, it doesn't seem too odd to me that he has a crazy eye.
that's right.
Or,
yeah.
that there's people who are deformed like that.
I don't even know how you would do that. Like, how would you even reposition?
I don't remember the joke, but it bombed.
Oh my god!
When he put those glasses on,
glasses.
he's like, nope.
Nope, says Goosey right here.
The other detail was when they were in quarantine, the room said test subjects.
Yes, it did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. So we kind of knew what they were in for. And so if we go to the next scene, we see Maximus get the idea to take the Vault fusion core, and he gets interrupted by being handed, by the lady there, and she hands him his very own Pip-Boy with a personal vault and a hot shower, not to mention
That's
some
the crap.
caviar, a gift basket, and he
There's
is
some
loving
Easter eggs
life.
for you.
Sugar bombs.
There's some Easter eggs for you. The deviled eggs, that's one, and you kind of see Lucy with those. But and then she said sugar bombs. That's another big one from the game. But I was gonna go back to something you had asked. I think it was last show that I was on. You were talking about, or it was a couple where you see Chet eating Spam.
Mm-hmm.
So it is basically technically Spam, but in the universe it's called Cram, and you actually see a can of Cram in that bucket.
That's right. Yep. Has anyone had caviar? Has everyone on this call had caviar before? I never have.
I feel like I had once, or I feel like maybe once.
I heard it's
That
not
was
great.
interesting.
Just it's salty. It's like, you ever had boba tea?
Yeah.
It's like tiny boba balls, but really salty, basically.
Okay.
It's
They
an
pop in your
acquired
mouth.
taste.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it shows how Vault 4 was the good vault, right? It's because of they were able to have all these things, right? That other vaults definitely didn't get.
But I mean,
He's
In
like,
my
I could
mind.
get used to this.
yeah, and
That's the
he's
trap,
It's
though.
make
that-
it's making me have more empathy for Maximus or Titus as he's still going by.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just to see how stunted he is in a different way than Lucy.
Mhm.
You know, they're both stunted just in completely different
Well,
ways.
he eats the caviar and he walks out very concerned, stops the guy in
What's
the
this?
hall, and he says, "What is this?" So
Scope
you don't know
eggs.
we don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he thinks
Yeah.
he's good. I don't know if he thinks it's bad. I don't know if he knows it's food. You know.
I think he is just loving all of it. Like just,
Yeah.
being able to listen to music, have a hot shower for the first time, just food, all this different kinds of food, whatever he wants. He's loving it.
The fresh water.
Yeah.
And you're just like drinking it by the handful.
Yeah.
What's
And
hot
then that-
water?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's hot water?
Yeah, what's hot water? But it's fresh too, though. It's like it's hard, fresh water is so hard to come by in the wasteland. And he's just getting it out of a
It's
spout.
right there.
Just something that we
Wow.
might take for granted.
But as he's doing this, oh, go ahead, Paul.
Did we pass up Maximus taking the core yet?
Yeah,
we're
well,
getting there.
I was saying like,
Okay.
yes, he was going to take the core, but then he got interrupted, and she basically said, "Hey, try all this stuff before you want to leave. You got to try this this running water, this hot shower, this this food. Put on a robe and slippers for the first time in your life. Stuff that we all take for granted, but it's the first time for him. So meanwhile, Lucy's digging into what really happened in the recent past and some surface dweller traditions, and we see that the ghoul get taken to his old friend Sorrel just as he's about to be fed to the hogs, and the ghoul kills everyone but him, and the ghoul also learns what Moldaver actually looks like from the wanted poster.
I was gonna say
And he
real quick.
recognizes her.
He recognizes her
recognizes her.
first, and then
Yeah.
says, "Who is this?" Right?
Yes. And that's when we find out who Moldaver actually is. And it's cut at the same time that
Mhm.
Lucy is finding out, because they're doing this ritual worship to her in the vault.
And I really like that too. The how they're kind of like the scenes are running together,
Mhm.
and the music in that scene was really great. Like this creepy culty kind of stuff, because they're all dancing and getting naked, and it started to look weird. And at the same time,
I was watching that part at work. I was like, no. Thankfully, it was just me and two other newbies that we were just all on the same shift, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta say, this is not
And-
NSFW.
I was going to mention an important point is we went back on, to the vault earlier on. Lucy was walking through the classrooms, and she saw a timeline of what happened to was it Shady Sands,
Mhm.
and then you could tell that was confusing to her because that was not in the curriculum that she was teaching or that she had learned in Vault 33.
Yeah.
Well, and
Also, she
teacher.
pulled up that new Cali flag. I want that new Cali flag. I want a big one.
Now, was that
The double-headed
was
bear.
That,
That thing's
yeah,
so dope.
okay. I was going to ask, was that two bears or was it a double-headed bear?
It's a mutated bear. Yeah, it's two heads.
But with Shady Sands, that the ending of that whole history was a nuclear bomb, what looked like a bomb explosion happened.
Yeah. And she's like, she's heard about Shady Sands, but she's like, she would have assumed that like that happened that during the fallout, and she hadn't learned that one had happened more recently.
So is it one happened
that's what-
more recently, or did this all happen more recently? Do we know? Do we
Don't
know how many
know.
wars
gonna find
there have
out.
been?
We're gonna find out.
I think we're gonna find out soon.
But yeah, no, I've actually went to Hollywood Forever Cemetery with my wife, and it's a really cool place. It's huge, and that huge mausoleum that he's walking through, I got to see that. I didn't get to go inside of it, but Chris Cornell's buried out there. Joey Ramone's buried out there. Got to visit their graves. I got to see Vampira too from Plan 9
Wow.
from Outer Space. So that was pretty
Nice.
cool. But anyway, just a little personal trivia there. Place is awesome.
Whoa.
Very cool. Okay. So just a little bit more here for the rest of the episode. So back in Vault 4, Lucy sits in on the ritual dedicated to Moldaver, and she tries to tell Maximus that they need to leave, but he's already drunk the Kool-Aid. I mean, probably literally. And Lucy acknowledges that it would be hard to leave all the food, the robes, and the slippers, but she decides to go to level 12 and find out what they're really hiding. And what she finds is footage of some truly horrific science experiments. And as she's figuring all this out, then a vault dweller with a nose on his forehead finds her. And that is the end of the episode.
We end with Maximus being all comfy, eating his popcorn.
Right, sitting there watching the waterfall. And the funny part, before she went up there, he was like, he's never had an aphrodisiac, right? So these oysters have got him in the mood.
You want to make my cock explode?
She's like,
There it is.
I got some other stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at the end though, she's getting taken away, and she said, "You guys are sick. Your culture is messed up." And I like how the lady from that vault, what was her name? Birdie's like, "Well, you might think the same. We might think the same thing if we went to your vault," which kind of opens up some questions. Like,
It's so true.
Isn't a vault's a vault, right? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. Don't yuck my yum. You know what I mean?
And then also, I wanted to point out too is like, I like how Moldaver's really only been in like one scene at the beginning in the physical presence, but they're so good at building lore about her. Or obviously now we see her at the end of this episode. Like, and this is coming from somebody who's already seen the whole season, but before I got to the end of the season and knew anything that was going on or whatever, as they were telling this story and kind of explaining that, I felt like they did a really good job of building this mythos of this chick, and like how she already seems like she's just like so like charismatic cult leader. Like she's a communist,
such a badass,
leader / cult leader now. Like she's obviously very charismatic and can turn people around to like a certain points of view that they might not have had previously.
Yeah, and there's some questions that came out of that for me, because seeing her then, you know, when she says hi to Cooper, and that's her. Yeah,
that's 200 years ago. Yeah, how's she still around?
But that leads me to ask, so Paul, what questions were you having as you kind of, you know, ended this episode? Because you mentioned earlier that it put some questions in your head. Do you have any off the top of your head?
I mean, again, was the lady at the Hollywood Forever or whatever it was called, that was Moldaver?
That was.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I just have really stupid questions where I'm
asked
like,
and answered.
It is.
No, that's good.
It is. In my head, I'm like, it probably is, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, that was definitely her.
And then I had, you know, the question of what Lucy turned on the TV and what was going on at that time. I wrote in my notes that she was getting attacked by piranhas.
Well, it's pretty weird. Also, this is where it linked together what I talked about, how I knew I could kind of guess they were doing testing. Is what it looks like is, and kind of what she's saying is, when you go into this scenario where you're living in a vault and humans kind of get weird and get crazy, they've experimented in a way, and I think to produce food for the vault by impregnating these women, and there's multiple of these units.
It does make you wonder, where do they get all the oysters and the caviar?
Exactly. That's where I think it's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't, and honestly, I didn't have that thought until we were doing this and we started talking about it. And I was like, caviar experiments, maybe, you know, and that's why I said gulper eggs earlier. I'm like, can you imagine they're just eating gulper eggs?
Well, and pod 4 was the scientific pod, or vault. Sorry. Vault 4 was the science pod, basically, where that's what they do. So, the other question I had was, I think they were purposely not showing us what was in those pods in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Did they show us
reveal? It was a pregnant woman.
Okay, I didn't see. I didn't.
The woman in the one in the video, there was like 100,000 more pods. I don't know how many, but a ton more pods.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so the episode ends with, like you said, a lot of questions being asked. And what's cool is the very next episode, they're going to answer a lot of that stuff for us. So it's kind of a continuation. So to wrap up this episode, what you guys have any final thoughts about it before we get into the next one?
I was going to say, to your point, though, yeah, this is a big turning point, kind of almost I don't want to say a climax, but a big turning point in this season, because we only have, I think, 2 more episodes, maybe 3. I think it's 2 episodes.
2.
So yeah, so it's all going to start evening out after this, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to that.
And that's the problem with not binging it, is I'm sitting here analyzing one episode at a time, you know, and thinking about it and everything else. But there's a lot of the little things that, you know, I may not be picking up of, you know, okay, yes, that's definitely Moldaver. You know, yeah, I thought it was, but
that's what I love about this and talking to you guys, because we are able to just kind of sit into the episodes a little bit more and dive deeper and learn some stuff. So I learned a lot, had a lot of fun. Sid, you want to take us out of here?
You got it. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode as we covered Season 1, Episode 6 of Fallout. Join us next week as we cover Episode 7. We can all catch up before Season 2 is released on December 17th, which is coming up. We only have 2 more episodes to talk about before that. But till next week, I would love to know, what is an unconventional object you would use for ammo in the wasteland? I know I am partial to the plastic baby legs that we saw back in Episode 1. I would just be blasting the baby legs out of the freaking cannons. What about you guys?
I like teeth. Let's do the teeth and keep those going.
I'm going to use skateboard bearings. Skateboard bearings. I'm just going to load them in a shotgun and.
I just had a tooth pulled last week, so I have a little more ammunition on my
PTSD.
My end too.
I'm going to agree too, because I mean, honestly, there's a lot of really different cool weapons, you know, in the Fallout world, but there's I think you can't get any more crazier than teeth, especially in that scene where they're pulling it out. He's like, oh yeah, no, you need to stay here and get these antibiotics because you had a rotting tooth. So it's like almost like a bio weapon at that point, you know.
And I actually thought of it worse than a bullet.
Yeah. I would rather get shot with a piece of lead than a rotting tooth for sure.
Absolutely. I thought that was very clever ammo. So let us know in the comments what you would use for unconventional ammo in the wasteland. And please like and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And 5 stars are no stars, but please, 5 stars.
Keep it 5.
Thank you for listening. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Cinema.